This is Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckalter. Follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, the website, clockersports.com, and the email address is clockersports@gmail.com. Had a really busy week of sports, man. It's been kind of slow lately. We don't have the everyday basketball games going on, sigh. Thursday Night Football did take place tonight. We didn't have any scheduling conflicts, no COVID cancellations or anything like that. And it was a thriller, too. And we also had the NBA draft take place on Wednesday night. So we'll get into all of that. We're going to start off with the Thursday Night Football game, though. And I got to be honest, listen, if you follow the website, clockersports.com, as you should be checking it out every day, you know that I've been doing this betting column for 5 weeks now, 6 weeks now, something like that. And I got to be honest, I had climbed my way back up to 500. Respectability. But I mean, I had a couple of 66% weeks. You know, the 60% mark is what you're trying to hit week in and week out. Hit it a couple weeks in a row. Bought myself tooth and nail back to 500 just to see myself get obliterated last week over, and then start off with a rough one in this one. Cardinals ended up losing this game to the Seattle Seahawks by a score of 21-28. A game that was 21-23 for the longest time, or for a while there, and then the Cardinals had a holding call in the end zone resulting in a safety. They punted. The Seahawks ended up getting a field goal that made a touchdown. I had the Cardinals +3 and the over. The over didn't hit. Cardinals did. First of all, let me just say, my over-under game has been atrocious this year. So when you read the column, you definitely make sure you separate the over-under from the actual pick of the game. I've been pretty decent with the pick of the game. The over-under, though, is a completely different animal altogether. That being said, neither one of them hit in this game, and it is just a rough start to the week after the week I had last week. So hopefully, rebound over the next two games with the you got the Raiders taking on the Chiefs this game in Vegas, and then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Los Angeles Rams. Both of those should be great games as well. We'll have the updated article coming out sometime tomorrow. If not tomorrow, Saturday, but more than likely it'll be tomorrow afternoon at the latest, if I have something to say about it, and I think I have a little bit to say. But in this game, the Thursday night game, like I said, you had Russell Wilson taking on Kyler Murray and his Arizona Cardinals. And the first thing that I think I noticed was that the Seahawks looked very balanced. They came out with a definite plan to run the ball more. You didn't see them just flinging it and resulting or getting behind the chains, behind the down and distance, and forcing the issue when they didn't have to. Carlos Hyde gave them some great production on the ground. You saw both Scarborough actually get into this game too, and I think that was one of the things that we kind of overlooked going in, is that there's a lot of debate over who the running back is. But in a system like Seattle, in a system to an even further extreme like San Francisco, it's not so much the system as it is the running back and his skill set. Or I'm sorry, it's not so much the running back and his skill set as it is the system. And I think we saw that tonight. Now, granted, Carlos Hyde is no slouch. He's not a spring chicken, but he's no slouch of a running back. And so, not surprised to see him do well. Not surprised to see him continue to do 79 yards, 14 carries, and a touchdown. But you also had 42 carries from Russell Wilson. Now, he hasn't been running like he used to do back in the day for quite some time. I'll see him doing that. That's great. They got 31 yards from both Scarborough and 6 carries. Russell threw 2 touchdowns, only 197 yards. I had props on this one. Passing yards, overs. That didn't hit with Russ. Oh, it was bad. Bad start to the week. Kyler Murray on the other side, 2 touchdowns, 269 yards. The running game for Arizona, though, this was a strength in the last time. Kenyon Drake had a big day in the last meeting between these two teams that reached into the 30s for both of them. High-scoring affair that came down to a last-minute field goal. A miss by Seattle allowing Arizona to do what they did and come back and win that one. Arizona coming off that emotional win, last-second win after they thought they had lost, with Stephon Diggs catching what he thought was a game winner. Kyler Murray comes back and finds DeAndre Hopkins with the hop down there somewhere pass. We're not even calling it the Hail Mary no more. You have to say it that way because he tweeted it out. You have to say it that way. Only way to do it. But this one, they had a combination, 28, 57 yards on the ground on 18 carries. 5 of those were by Murray. So you're only getting 42 yards from your running backs on 13 carries. Now, granted, You got 36 more in a touchdown from Edmonds and 31 more from Drake through the air. But if you can't keep Russ off balance and keep the defense off balance, you're going to have troubles. And we saw that from Murray tonight, 29-42. Stat line looks a lot better than he actually was early on, especially getting harassed by a Seattle pass rush that's been revitalized by the arrival of one Carlos Dunlap, formerly disgruntled player of the Cincinnati Bengals. We all know he was in social media complaining about his situation. Well, it seems to have improved, and he seems to have improved his situation. Now, this match brought the Seahawks to 7-3. They're first in the West. This division is going to be highly contested. One of these teams is probably not going to make it. Now, I'm interested to see, and that's going to be something we touch on in a minute here, how this shakes out. But which one of these teams is the odd man out? If one of these teams is the odd man out. We'll get to that a little bit more later. The other thing that stood out to me is, like I said, the Cardinals were being very offensively disjointed. But lastly was both defenses had their moments. We've talked about the Seahawks being very porous in the secondary. Literally, they're like dead last. I'm not even making that up. It's not good. Last in total yards, last in passing yards. They're pretty good against the run, but they're horrid against the pass. Well, they were. You know how you fix that? You disrupt the pass, not necessarily by coverage, but by disrupting the passer. And like I said, Dunlap's arrival might be doing wonders already for this team, and could be the missing piece, which is weird to say. You don't think about that, about Carlos Dunlap in that fashion, but simple pass rush can make things so much simpler for your defense, and then by extension the offense when they can get the ball back. Rest of week 11 is as follows, and we got some interesting games. You have the Bengals taking on the Washington football team. Now, I thought about this. I was trying to find an angle of something that made this game appealing, because it's really not. Joe Burrow, number one pick. You want to see him play, great. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. You know what I mean? That's not really making me want to watch it. I watch the highlights, but I don't want to watch. This is not a good football. This is two bad teams. But if you were to combine them into the Washington football Bengals, now you have a solid, though, that offense of Cincinnati with the defense of Washington. You're cooking with gas, family. I don't know what we're waiting on. We need to start. Remember, you had the Steagles back in war times with the Steelers and the Eagles joining forces. It's been done. Granted, these teams are nowhere close and are not in the same conference, and this is a completely stupid idea, but it should be done. Sounds like a lot of things that are happening right now, right? Doesn't make any sense, but do it anyway. That would be tough. The Washington football team with the Chase Young and Montrez Sweat pass rush, solid secondary. You got the Cincinnati offense, T. Higgins, like I said, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon when he can get healthy. Gio Bernard's no slouch. Tyler Boyd. They need a tight end. They need some offensive line help. That'd be a good team. That'd be a playoff team. And a serious threat. Just a thought. You know, if we're doing reduction, you know, we always talk about expansion. If they ever consider reduction, never going to happen. But if they were to ever consider it, this is my suggestion. This is my offering to the think tank, merging the Bengals and the Washington football team. All right, moving on. Enough time spent on that foolishness. Jameis will be taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Jameis Winston will be stepping in as starter for the injured Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints. This will be the second year in a row that Brees has had to miss what will be an extended period of time due to injury. Last year, you remember, it was Teddy Bridgewater getting, I believe, 5 starts and earning himself a $63 million contract out of it. Not mad at him for that. Wish it was here in Chicago, but that's another story for another time. Jameis gets his opportunity now for the gold and black, and he gets, I don't know if there's a better opportunity for him, because not only is he getting a team with the poor secondary, just as porous as Seattle's is, more so than Seattle showed on Thursday night, but the Falcons aren't great in the secondary, right? They've gotten more pressure of late, but they're still not a great pass rushing team, and the Saints do have a good line, and everybody else is healthy. So say for Alvin Kamara, who's missed practice with, I believe, a toe injury, but he says it's like stubbing his toe. Who knows? You know, players downplay every injury until they're sitting out. So, but this could be Winston's start of his chance to redeem his career and get back on track. If he can do what Bridgewater did, I see no reason why a team wouldn't go out there and throw mid-level starter money at him to get back out there and sling the pill. This is and honestly, he might get better than that, because this is a guy who, again, threw 30 touchdown passes. I know right after that you have to mention 33 touchdown passes, excuse me. You have to mention that he threw 30 interceptions as well. That's fine, but he also threw 33 touchdown passes. That's going to have some weight with some team. You know how the adage goes, everybody can fix every player. They're going to look at him and what he's done and the decision-making that he's had and blame it on the vision. He's got corrective surgery, and if he plays well now, then that just proves it. Jameis will get another shot, especially if he plays well. What he's doing now is playing for his contract length. Right? What size contract are you going to get now? That's what this is about. So don't get it twisted. Pittsburgh Steelers are pursuing perfection. They are currently 9-0. They will be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I see no way they don't extend this to 10-0. I told you a few weeks back I think the Ravens, and there might be one other one, and it keeps escaping me, and I keep forgetting to put it down on the notes because it really doesn't matter because I don't see it being that big of a threat anyway. The only one is really Baltimore, and I don't really think Baltimore is a threat either. I'm having a hard time finding the loss for Pittsburgh unless they decide to sit in Week 17, which is wholly possible. At 15-0, I'm pretty sure you're not really worried. Mike Tomlin, if any coach is not worried about going undefeated in the regular season, it's Mike Tomlin. Now, would it be cool? Yeah, maybe they come out and they start, but I could see if the first time they go down, all right, everybody coming out. I could see it happen if they go up. But this week, I don't see them catching the loss. 10-0 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cam Newton will be taking on Deshaun Watson as the New England Patriots head down to Houston, former home of Bill Belichick disciple Bill O'Brien. Now, the residence of former Bill Belichick disciple Romeo Crennel. But this is a cautionary tale. This is a chance for Deshaun Watson to get a glimpse into his future. And not necessarily because of what's going on in New England, but because of Cam Newton and how he ended up in New England. I think it's a tale of seeing a player be relied upon for his natural ability for so long and then discarded once some of that begins to wane. Cam Newton, as many of you know who follow the show, is my favorite NFL player right now, my favorite active player. But I would never argue that he is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the game right now. I think he had his time. I think that time's probably passed. It's much like Russell Westbrook. That's my favorite NBA player. My point being that to expect Cam to go through what he went through in Carolina, the poor offensive line, the lack of weapons around him, and to see it kind of happen here in New England, right? The same offensive line and poor weaponry that had Tom Brady contemplating retirement and moving on, and ultimately moving on, rather, to Tampa Bay, and expect Cam to perform at a better level. Now, granted, like I said, I think Cam is a great quarterback. I don't know if Cam has ever been the level of quarterback that Tom Brady has. He's been a great player, football player, and been the best player in the league at some point, and, he won MVP for it. But to say that he's been a better quarterback, in the strictest sense of the term, I don't know if I would ever have said that. And again, this is coming from a fan. So my point here is, you see these teams get these kind of guys like a Cam, like a Deshaun Watson, and they rely so much on their natural God-given ability that they don't build around them properly. Now, part of that is due to Bill O'Brien being in charge in Houston. Cam didn't have that excuse. He had some pretty smart guys in charge, and they just kind of built it around him that way because that's what they wanted to do. Watson seems like they're trying to break it down to the most basic form of ineptitude that they can, prior to firing Bill O'Brien, obviously. And now he's left without DeAndre Hopkins, who they traded for David Johnson, who's now injured. There's no offensive line really there. He's still getting beat up. I'm not sure what the system is. He just needs to pay attention to what Cam is now and how Cam got to where he is now. Remember, he sat out all that time, most of last year with a shoulder injury, came back, missed some time this year with COVID, by the way, admitted that he came back a little stagnant from COVID, not really feeling like he was up to speed with everything because he wasn't able to participate for that time. Watson should pay attention to this because this is where he's headed. Bill O'Brien not only ruined the team now, but he ruined it for a little bit going forward. So we'll see what they do. They got some big decisions coming up. J.J. Watt for sure this offseason. But Watson just resigned. He was never not gonna resign. But you know what I'm saying. This is a situation. I think Cam, if Cam gets a chance, he should whisper in Watson's ear, "Hey man, go in there and demand that they get you some protection. If nothing else, you have to give the quarterback protection. Draft some offensive linemen. Look at what the Colts are doing. Phillip Rivers has looked decent for a good chunks of this season, still because of that offensive line down there in Indianapolis. Look at what they got Ryan Tannehill doing. Now, granted, a lot of that's because they run, and that's the same thing for Indianapolis, but really, especially so down in Tennessee. Offensive line investment is important. Offensive line investment is important. Offensive line investment is important. I'm talking to you, Ryan Pace. I'm tired of being around the bush on that one. Okay, next matchup. Carson Wentz versus Baker Mayfield in what I would like to call the Scrutiny Bowl. Both of these guys have been highly scrutinized. They are top picks. Baker was number 1 overall. Wentz did not. He went second, obviously. Jared Goff. We'll talk about that in a second. But these two have been just under the microscope ever since they got into the league, and I don't know if there's a better way to put it than they've brought it on themselves. And what I mean by that is, especially Baker, he's got the commercials, Hulu, he's got the what is it, Geico, Aflac insurance. He's got some other. He's got commercials. Baker's not one who's hard to find right on your television screen. But the dude doesn't have the record to back that kind of stuff up. I'm looking at a quarterback right now with a career record of 18-20. But he's got some monster endorsement deals already. 15 touchdowns, and 7 picks this year. Now, he's cut down the interception rate, obviously, from last season. Boosted his touchdown rate. And yet, people are still disappointed in him. They're in a new system. They just lost OBJ a few weeks ago, which they had an offensive explosion when that happened. And love it, like it or love it, the team is sitting right now above 500. They're 6-3. Cleveland is 6-3, and people are upset and ragging on the Browns. Now, conversely, you got the Eagles, right? You look at Philadelphia. Carson Wentz is. They talked about this on the Twitter sphere earlier. He had to watch himself. He had to get hurt, and then watch his backup Nick Foles come in and win a Super Bowl for the team. The locker room fell in love with him. The city fell in love with him. Media fell in love with him. The storyline, all of that. Statue got erected. Then he has to watch his team. After that dude goes, people lament it. Then he has to watch his team draft a quarterback in the second round instead of getting him some help. This is along the lines of what happened with Aaron Rodgers, but a totally different timeline. And that's what makes it so interesting, because clearly that's like we think this guy can help us, but so much so that you take him before you provide weapons for now. That's a message. There's no other way around it. So people are wondering if his confidence is shaken. I think it's more bad offensive line. But the Eagles are 3-5-1. Now, granted, they were a team who was decimated at the skill positions by injuries and the offensive line. Both guards, left tackle, both starting wide receivers, lost the starting running back for some time. It's all bad. It's been all bad. Defense has been porous. This game will go a long way for both of these guys to not silencing the critics, but settling the critics. Right? You gotta keep them. You gotta hush the room for a moment. Wentz especially, he's gonna probably win that division again with about 6 or 7 wins, and he's got to focus. I don't think his confidence is shaken. Not yet anyway. It's in the link. You need this. This is in First Energy, excuse me. I always call it the link. It's not the link anymore. That's been gone. 3-5-1, 6-3 Browns. And the Browns are getting scrutinized. It's tough, man. It's tough. Good game, though. The Scrutiny Bowl. Can't wait to see who comes out on top of that one. Next one, Stafford versus Bridgewater. This one is the Walking Dead, man. These guys are banged up here. And actually, it looks like Teddy Bridgewater will not be playing in this game, will not be starting for the Carolina Panthers. He took an awkward hit, hurt his knee. Nothing extreme, they say it's a sprain. They're listing him as day-to-day. It looks like it's more like week-to-week. Whenever they say day-to-day, I assume it's week-to-week at this point. And then on the other side, Matthew Stafford's dealing with some injury, I think torn ligaments in his thumb, and he is practicing, though, expecting to play. He's wearing some protective hand gear, but he's not the only one on that team. They're also missing Kenny Galladay. DeAndre Swift is dealing with a concussion. So while Stafford will play, while Bridgewater likely misses, Stafford will be playing with at least one hand tied behind his back, while the Panther skill position players will be playing with either P.J. Walker or Will Grier. Neither one of those guys are instilling much confidence right now. So, next one, you got the Run Bowl. This is just running. Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans playing host to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, man, I don't know what else you'd want to see, but these two just toting the rock and going. Now, granted, you want to see Lamar throw, but my point is, we know what these systems are and what they're built around. That's the ground attack now. It's not coming from the backs up there in Baltimore. Would love to see the Ravens find a way to pull this off and get themselves back right. Tennessee, I think, is a fraud. I say that all the time, and it's kind of like one of those things where it's like a broken clock, right? Keep on saying the same thing. Eventually, you're going to be right, but I really do believe that Tennessee is fraudulent. And while I think Baltimore is too, I think they're less so. I think their ceiling is kind of what we've seen, where they can beat these rudimentary offenses, these offenses that don't necessarily have the complex passing attacks of the Kansas Cities. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely know this is going to be whoever is defending in this game is going to be bruised up the next day. They're going to be sore. So next game, the Jets are chasing infamy. As they are 0-9 right now, trying to avoid. Are they trying to avoid 0-10? I'm not really sure how to look at this because, as we know, being winless is not something that you strive for. However, getting the top pick of the NFL draft is something that a lot of teams strive for, especially when it's clear that a rebuild is on the way. And if there's not a rebuild on the way here, I don't know what is now. They come out to face the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't see a way that the Jets can come out and win this one unless the Chargers do what the Chargers do and turn the ball over a lot. I believe Joe Flacco was getting the start again in this one. Sam Darnold's still not ready to come back from that shoulder injury. But Flacco played well in the last game. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I know that they are going to be 0-10. Just like I'm 99% certain that the Steelers are going to be 10-0. Miami is in the mountains taking on the Denver Broncos as Tua Tagovailoa heads west to try to maintain his undefeated streak as a starter in the NFL. Minnesota has now won 3 straight games and are looking like they're going to be a problem in the NFC North for any team, especially even the Green Bay Packers, who they just beat before they beat down my Chicago Bears. And I say beat down. That's just scarring. Just hurt. A little hurt coming out. It's painful to watch that team, man. Speaking of the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers take on the Indianapolis Colts in a game that I think could really go either way. Weather, I believe, is supposed to be less than ideal in this one, but you have the Packers and their explosive offense against the Colts' stout defense. And then on the other side, you have the Colts offense that can be stagnant sometimes against a Packers defense that can give up yardage and points. So, strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness. I love those kind of matchups. And again, I think this one can go either way. As we get close, we have to talk about it. I think that I do want to see. I have some ideas of matchups that I want to see once the playoffs do roll around. Just a couple of quick ones off the top of my head, or not top of my head, some that I thought about that I would love to see. Arizona, Seattle, Part 3. Watching this game on Thursday night just made me realize that I want to see these two quarterbacks who are, I don't want to say mirror images, because I think Kyler's a little bit more advanced at this stage as a passer than Russ was. And better athlete. But Russ is probably more accurate, a better IQ. But I would love to see a Part 3 in the playoffs with that kind of high leverage situation. Another one, Bucks Saints. We didn't get to see Patriots Saints in the Super Bowl with Brady and Breeze for one last hurrah. Then the Bulls ride off into the sunset. Maybe we can get it in championship game form, NFC championship game form, and the Bucks will take on the Saints in Part 3. They took them. They beat the Bucks. Lost both games to New Orleans this year. So I'm not saying it would turn the tides, but it would definitely be an interesting thing because that's bragging rights for Drew Brees over Tom Brady. It's almost like the Nick Foles effect, where you just can't beat that guy, and you know that from now on or from then on, it'd be hard for Tom to shake Brees' hand in public because he's petty like that. And then the last one, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. I told you about the comparisons with Wentz and Baker, but Goff and Wentz came out in the same draft class, so you know they're going to be talked about together no matter what. And so whenever they get a chance to go head-to-head, that's what you want to see. It'd be interesting, if only because we know the Eagles team has been there, done that. The team has. Not Carson. He wasn't part of that. But the team around him, by and large, has had some had a hand in that postseason run. Meanwhile, the Rams have been there too, but Jared Goff is not the guy that you want to put it all on. So if the Eagles get hot and find their groove at the right time, and it comes down to Jared Goff against the tough defense and Carson Wentz versus tough defense, who are you trusting? That's what I want to see. Because I still think you take Carson Wentz. Jared Goff's still getting, I think, force-fed some plays from his head coach. So, you kind of got to look out there and see how that could play out. But that'll be an interesting playoff matchup as well. We talked about the AFC ones last episode, so go ahead and check back on that one to find out the AFC matchups that I would like to see. DeAndre Baker, former Giants cornerback DeAndre Baker, was cleared of all charges. He was charged with armed robbery from a party he and Quentin Dunbar of the Seattle Seahawks. A long, convoluted tale. If you want the details, go ahead and look it up because I'm not going to get into it all here. But basically, they were accused of false imprisonment and robbing people at a party after losing a poker game or something along those lines. Come to find out, the accusing attorney was trying to extort Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker's attorney had said that prior. It's all coming out now. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. A lot of legal mumbo jumbo. Long story short, Baker went from being a member of the Giants to unemployed to now being a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at God. Won't he do it? That wasn't nothing but a thing. Troubled waters to settle him down. That's beautiful. You're damn near gonna go to champion. You brother, you went from the doldrums, the bottom of the barrel, to the up to tippy top. That is a beautiful story, and got cleared of all your charges. Oh, love to see stuff like that. Don't put yourself in that kind of situation no more, but you love to see stuff like that. Antonio Brown might be unchanged, as we talked about his reports of him breaking a security camera of his homeowners association and throwing a bicycle at the security guard. Bruce Arians, his head coach, said that if AB is not a model citizen, then he will be gone. These two have a history together, so it's not surprising to see his coach take a hardline stance. However, many are quick to point out that, well, if breaking someone else's property and throwing a bike at them, which constitutes assault, isn't not living like a model citizen, then damn, what is? And we'll see. We'll see what comes of it, but that's definitely not nothing. It's something to keep looking out. And be on the lookout, speaking of looking out, for the article coming out on Last Word on Pro Football about the Bears being the kind of embodiment of all the worst of their past few eras. I think going back to Dick Duran, maybe even going back to Wanstead, but for sure going back to Lovie Smith, right? That's my number one. I know for a fact, damn it, that from there on, the kind of, I think part of it is the curse of Lovey. You fire a guy after he goes 10-6, you deserve to lose after that. But I will extend it back to Dick Duran for the article and kind of just point out the things that I see now that I remember from back then that kind of just make me sigh. And I'll tell you one thing from Dick Duran, it's the ineptitude on offense. I know we often compare Matt Nagy to Mark Trestman because he's supposed to be an offensive genius and it's just not working. But I think it's different reasons then. With Trestman, there were some injuries. There were some disinterest among the group, some disjointedness in that locker room. Couldn't command the offense. or couldn't command the locker room. I don't think Nagy cannot command the locker room. He might not give you all the information, but I think the extent of his comparison or his comp with Trestman is that he's a little bit weird, and I mean that in a nice way, but he's a little bit weird, and that he's an offensive guru that's just not getting it done. But Jerron, I just remember being so disgusted watching those offenses try. Not the A-Train stuff, you know. I'm talking about the with James Allen. I know I'm drawing a blank on the gentleman's name right now, because I think I blocked it out of my mind. But there were some lean years, is my point. And then you get the Lovie Smith era, and it's the sideline looks. Right now, Lovey's was just stuck, a little bit of a blank stare, a little confused. Nagy's is kind of like a fiendish, a little pissed off, like, you know, like, damn it, why didn't that work? And we all looking at him like, damn it, why won't you get it to work? But it's just there's some other things. So be on the lookout for that one. The Bears are just merging the worst of all eras. I already released the one I'm talking about, how they kind of lost all of their credibility with this loss to the Vikings, with Nick Foles going to the tunnel. That was it. Your hand-picked quarterbacks have both failed. Your roster that you have finely tuned is the same thing we've been seeing prior to your arrival. So that means, why are you here? And nothing's working. You guys don't seem to have an answer. I don't know how you can give them another bite at the apple, but it sounds like there's a strong chance that they get one. That's terrifying. We're already probably going to see Mitchell Trubisky, though they did say that Nick Foles' injury is not believed to be as serious as they initially thought, and he doesn't have to go on IR. That's a wonderful sign. They even believe that he could return following the bye week. So, fingers crossed on that. Maybe there's some hope yet. We'll see what happens. Switching gears over to the NBA, we've buried the lead long enough. The NBA draft took place. Yay. Welcome to all of the freshman NBA players, the rookies, as it were. Now, we'll have a full article on Clocker Sports about who I liked, who I didn't like, and maybe I'll go team by team and talk about why I felt the way I felt about their particular pick. But real quick, some ones that I liked, loved, didn't like, whatever, how you want to talk about it. I definitely love these two picks here in particular. Devin Vassell, going to San Antonio at number 11, out of Florida State, the swing man. And then Sadiq Bey, out of Villanova, another combo forward, going 19th to Detroit via some trades, I believe, there. And then Trey Jones, second round to the Spurs. Now, the Spurs clearly are on the list twice. They had two really, really strong selections in those guys, because I just love the fact that you have Vassell's versatility, his size, length, 6'7". We know what they do with wings there. So that's just like a no-brainer. And then Trey Jones is a smart player, not overly great offensively, but a smart, heady guy, gonna take care of the ball, gonna get the play ran, gonna put guys in the right position. So I love it, especially in the second round. And in San Antonio, he's gonna get some great development there. These are pop type picks. I'm interested to see how long Pop sticks around, because these are definitely some pop type guys. Sadiq Bey is just one of my favorite players in this draft. 6'8", like I said, plays both forward spots. Detroit got a great player. Interested to see what they got going on, because they also got Killian Hayes, another player that I am very interested to see how it works out for him. So Detroit's doing some things, man. They're making some moves. Trade Luke Kennard. We'll see what ends up coming of all of this and everything in the future. But those were the ones that I really love, the three that I love: Devin Vassell, Sadiq Bey, and Trey Jones. The ones that I hated, and I listen, hated is a strong word, but if you go love, you got to go hate. In reality, I should put some parentheses there and say questioning. Just questioning, just wondering. And I defer to people who know better than me. That's why I can't hate it, but I can question, because I'm damn it, this is America. Denny Avdia going to Washington, number 9. That's a bit questionable, if only because of last year's first round pick, Rui Hachimura. Now, granted, you're taking talent in a situation like Washington, because they're on the cusp of having to blow it all up and rebuild it if they can start getting off some of those contracts. And so I'm not surprised that they went there and did it that way. But the two of them project to play the same position. Granted, they don't have the same skill set, so they won't be jamming the floor up, but you're losing something by having both of them on the floor together. You lose some length and some defensive ability with Rui there, and with no true five if you move Rui to the five. You lose some wings, some perimeter defense if you have FD at the three. You switch them, you got reverse liabilities and strength. I wonder how it's going to work out for a team that's still trying to figure out what they're doing. So maybe that's where I kind of had the trepidation more than anything, is that I'm just not sure what they're doing with it. And then another one, the New York Knicks taking Obi Toppin at number 8. Now, I am not a fan of Toppin. I have written about this, not extensively, but I have definitely mentioned it. This feels like a team in the Knicks going for a headline name recognition more than fit, need, value, any of those things. We saw them being linked to guys like Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook still, especially now that they haven't drafted a cornerback. Wow. A point guard. They have a ton of forwards already. Stephen A. Smith actually made a video about that, saying how many forwards can you have. I'm not here to question the forward thing. You can move one of those guys. I'm sure you can find a taker. But you need a point guard. You need a point guard. Like this isn't a secret. You've needed a point guard for some time, and two of the better ones in this draft were still on the board. 3 if you count Kira Lewis. I'm not necessarily a Kira fan, but he's up there. He's definitely up there. But you still had Tyrese Halliburton, my personal favorite, and then you had Cole Anthony there as well. Anthony more of a scorer, so I get maybe not wanting to go that route, but you had what you needed. Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it, New York, and this is why the Knicks are the Knicks. Again, it just feels like they went for, and honestly, I can't even really say that they went for name recognition because Cole Anthony fits that. I don't get it. You could have had Cole Anthony and RJ Barrett together in the backcourt. That's a box office backcourt, dude. I'd pay to come see that. What the hell is this? I hope Obi has a great career, and I hope he does it for the Knicks. I hope they have great success. That's fine. Not a fan of the pick. And that kind of encapsulation is exactly how I am with Patrick Williams coming in at 4 with the Chicago Bulls. I went to social media and let it be known I was not happy with the pick. I wrote for PippinAintEasy.com that the Bulls are asking fans to take the ultimate trust test in this one. But in that article, I also specifically stated that and on social media, I am not hoping for this young man to fail. I am rooting for this young man because he does play for the Chicago Bulls. And I am leaning into that the people who made the decision know a hell of a lot more about any of this than I do. That doesn't mean my opinion has to change. So when I see the backlash of people wanting to be like, oh, fans are mad because they don't watch the games or they don't know about this guy, or they're casual or give it time, that's fine. Doesn't mean I can't be mad now. And honestly, I'm one of the first to tell you that a lot of people are upset because this is not who they wanted. It's just the preconceived notion factor came in. You'd already predetermined in your mind who you wanted it to be. It's not that guy. Now you're pissed. I get it. Damn it if I don't get that. That's where my social media outburst came from. But in the article I write, you got to give it time. We just dealt with 20 plus years of bullshit. I think AK gets 1. Even if he F's it all up, he gets 1. You got to give the man 1 to F it up. And to his defense, the kid is very versatile. Second youngest player in the draft. Youngest American-born player in the draft. Can do everything. And his calling card right now is defense. Something this team was severely lacking. He also fits in a spot that the Bulls are expected to be vacant at next season, with Otto Porter not coming back. $28 million, making more than some star players right now. So I get it. I totally understand the pick. Dude, he's got the athleticism, he's got the skill set, he's got the untapped potential still. I get it. doesn't mean I have to be happy with that. It doesn't mean that people have to understand or have to be happy with it. That doesn't mean they can go out and trash him. Because this is not about him. I think if he was picked 10 or later, maybe pick 7 in the traditional spot. But at 4, you want the name recognition and you want that instant difference maker. And a lot of people, even his staunchest supporters, will tell you that his biggest contribution will come on defense. At 4, I'm not sure that's what you're looking for. I've heard comparisons to anywhere from baby Kawhi Leonard, which we've heard thrown out a lot, some Paul George sprinkled in there, which is exciting, all the way down to DeAndre Hunter, a guy who's kind of just the guy. Right now. Maybe he develops more right now. At 4, that's not what you're looking for. Now, you have to realize nobody before the top 15, nobody in the top 15 rather traded a thing. There were no trades in the draft inside the top 15. So that, for one, is part of the reason why you don't see them trade back. You also see, again, that youth factor. With a draft like this, where there was so much talk about this being a shallow, not good draft. Two people, maybe 3, but it's not a good draft. Future years are good, so you take a young guy with the ceiling. We talk about his college production. I talk about this in the article. He played in a deep rotation, one of the few freshmen to get any minutes, played a lot of minutes, 4th on the team, 4th in scoring as well. His head coach, when they asked him about why he didn't start, he said he finished games. Gotta love that. We'll see. You have to give it time. Doesn't mean you can't be upset in the moment. I think you should be. I think taking anything that happens from your team at face value and just accepting it is how you get to the 25 years or whatever it was for Paxson and Gar Forman, whatever, since the Michael Jordan era left. Paxson Forman was like 17 years. If you don't speak out about it, they just keep doing it. We see it with the Bears now. That's why I love that Bears Nation is turning against this organization right now. They got to fix this, man. And the patience takes time. It's crap. We see teams become competitive every year. So I wrote the article a few weeks back about we're not entertained. You're not even putting on a good show. What are you doing? Same thing with the Bulls. It's been run like ass. So I wasn't a fan. Not necessarily not a fan of him. And I blame part of the reason why people are upset is because he didn't have the exposure of the national stage of March Madness. His team was a 1 seed. He was playing big minutes on a 1 seed. He would have been a household name by the end of the tournament. You can't fault people for not following every college game. People are busy. It happens. But I do think that it's understandable people are upset. But it's also reasonable to tell people, hey, take a step back, take a deep breath, and let's let this play out. I personally haven't been a fan of a few of the moves that have been made by this group so far, including the hiring of AK. We'll see how it works out. I told you my thoughts on AK and Eversley and where they came from, how I feel about Denver and what their situation is, and how I feel about Philadelphia and what their situation is. So I'd be lying if I said that the two of them came together, made me feel doubly good now, as opposed to how I felt about them when they were just candidates for their respective positions. It's just the way it is, man. Klay Thompson tore his Achilles. Remember, Klay just came back from a torn ACL. By the time he returns to the floor, if he returns to the floor, it will have been nearly 3 years since he stepped foot on the court. Last time was Game 5 against Toronto in the finals. Hopefully, Klay comes back full strength, man. It's sad. Golden State not resting on the stores, not feeling bad for itself. Went out and traded for Kelly Oubre. He'll join Andrew Wiggins on the wings. They got some bouncy wings, boy. But I don't know about the stroke on either one of them consistently, but they can defend. Well, Oubre can defend with energy. Wiggins when he wants to. James Wiseman down the middle. That's an interesting team. Golden State is very interesting. We'll see what they do. That Eric Pascal, Draymond Green still there. Interesting squad. But Kelly Oubre is now a member of the Golden State Warriors. following Klay Thompson's Achilles tear. That's sad, man. Hate to read that. Bogdan Bogdanovic bypasses the Bucks. He never agreed to the sign and trade, therefore the deal is null and void. People are up in arms around the league. Executives everywhere are pissed because this was announced on Monday when the trade window didn't. I'm sorry, on Tuesday. Monday when the trade window didn't open up until Friday. How the hell could they have framework for a deal, a sign and trade, no less? You can agree to a trade, but the sign and trade means that you have to bring it to a player. Well, you can't be negotiating before this time. How did that happen? Well, now there's an investigation into why the NBA. People are supposing that Bogdanovic is saying that he didn't agree to this to take some of the heat off of the Kings and Bucks, who are being charged with tampering. It's an interesting way to get to tampering, but basically the thought process here is he'll say this now. When it's all blown over, he'll end up going back and they'll have the deal back in place now. But they'll have to watch out because they're under heavy scrutiny because they went ahead and made some moves before they were supposed to. It's rules for we, not for me, and not for just me and not thee. That's not how it goes. We got to talk about it, man. Aside from just having some pretty cool names for front office personnel, Daryl Morey and Sam Presti are out here making moves. Both of them have stacked up picks. Daryl Morey brought in Seth Curry, shipped out Josh Richardson, got Danny Green there. We'll see what Danny Green does with Ben Simmons. You better not play them together. But they got picks. And hats off to you guys for acquiring assets, man. Hats off to you guys for making moves and doing what you got to do to get your team in the right position. Presti's going to own the draft for the next, decade. Well, OKC will. He might not be there. But OKC will have, they can do whatever they want for the next decade. Other draft news, LeVar Ball never lost. In case you were confused and didn't know, I'm here to let you know, LeVar Ball never lost. Okay, the man has the father of the first brothers to be taken inside the top 5 in NBA history. Lonzo went 2 overall to the Lakers. LaMelo went 3 overall to the Charlotte Hornets. This is great. Listen, I know a lot of people are not fans of his brashness and his boisterous ways. I also know a lot of people who would kill to have a father as president as he is. I'm thankful to have one. I'm just saying it's not uncommon. The fact of the matter is, he has the platform he has because it's given to him. He doesn't have a TV station, doesn't own a camera like that, doesn't own a microphone. You could say you don't like that he takes attention from his boys. I would say he deflects from some of the criticisms because if he's saying wild things, you're not, you might focus on it, but you know he's going to say something wild, so you really only focus on the negative that his son is doing so you can bring it back to him and get a soundbite. It's not the same kind of pressure. They don't want to hear about it from you because from him rather, because he could just talk some stuff to him and make him feel bad about it. But you're worried about him more than you're worried about them not being good. You think they're bad anyway. Meanwhile, Lonzo is a good defender, turning into a solid all-around player. We already know he's a great passer. Can't wait to see what LaMelo does with all the doubters that he has about his ability, his selfishness, quote unquote. Love it. Love it. Keep it up. LeVar never lost. Love it. Kind of stuff I love to see. Shout out to Lonzo and LaMelo. Shout out to Jello sitting there in the G League. Oklahoma City affiliate, I believe. 3 boys make it to the NBA ranks. Love it. Shout out to the Holiday family. Shout out to the Griffins. That's not what I'm saying. That's not my point. My point is people did not like LeVar Ball. They do not like LeVar Ball. They don't like Lonzo. They don't like LaMelo. Doesn't matter. Love it. Love it. Didn't think Mike would take him. Love it. Love that it's Mike. He's not the biggest star in his team. Love it. I hope Mike, we saw the pictures of Mike getting in shape. I hope Mike take LeVar to the floor and bust him real quick. 21-0. 10-0. Just take him off the floor. Love it. Keep it up, LeVar. Never lost. Never lost. Speaking of fathers being there on the joyous day for their sons, Kenyon Martin Jr. got drafted number 52 by Houston. His father, Kenyon Martin, obviously, drafted first overall way back when. Beautiful moment to see them two sitting side by side. Kenyon Sr. getting emotional as his son was being drafted. Beautiful sight, man. Beautiful sight. I'm a big fan of the reaction of these guys getting emotional. I know everybody doesn't have to cry. That's not what I'm saying. But I love to see the natural reaction of these guys and what is, up to that point, the greatest moment of their lives. Love it. Well, unless they have children. That's another conversation altogether. Of their professional lives. What I don't like is all the negative stories. And I'm not going to get into the specific ones. But you don't have to tell the prospects worst moments to get across how relatable they are, how much people should root for them. It's lowbrow, it's cheap, and it should be beneath these reporters and these stations. But they do it every year in every sport. Well, in football and basketball. Guess that is what it is. There are reports that Kyrie Irving doesn't want James Harden in Brooklyn. And to that I say, bye Kyrie Irving. Listen, I was just talking about how much of a fan I am of what Brooklyn has done. But I've also been talking about how worried I am of how volatile this is. Kaboom. It's a little one, not a big one. We don't know how true it is. We don't know how final it is. Kyrie says a lot of stuff. But if the choice ends up being Kyrie or Harden, Kyrie just became salary matching fodder in a heartbeat. You're getting a more complete player out of Harden. Granted, Kyrie, you're counting on him for a big bucket, but KD can give you big buckets. Harden's going to fill up the stat sheet in between, and he's not going to be as mercurial. He's still mercurial, but he's not as much as Kyrie, as aloof, as it were, as a Kyrie Irving. I still think they should work together. I don't know why Kyrie would not want to be guaranteed a trip to the finals in the East. Those three can fit together if they could put the damn egos aside. A lot of skill sets don't work naturally. Their skill sets all work together. Shut the hell up. Get it done. Make it work. Free agency starts this Friday. By the time this podcast drops, there will probably be some deals agreed upon in principle. Nothing can be finalized yet, but we'll be having a lot of hopefully shaking and moving. Now, I don't expect there to be too many free agent signings, not major. It's not a really strong class. Keep an eye out on Brandon Ingram. Anthony Davis is going back to Lakers. Bulls fans, relax. But beyond that, not a lot of noise going on. There have been a lot of opt-outs, but still, I don't think Gordon Hayward opted out. Now, if Gordon Hayward finds his way to Golden State somehow, people are saying that they think, I forget who they said is going to run the price up to some absorbent amount that just doesn't make any sense. But if he can find his way to Golden State, you got Steph, Wiggins, Oubre, and Gordon Hayward with come on, with why? Oh my gosh, that's an offense. I'm sorry, you're probably not. Oh my god, I don't even know who you're not starting. I don't even know who you're bringing off the bench. Wiseman, is he coming off the bench? That's a talented team. They're still making the playoffs. Maybe they're not a finals team, but that's a strong team. Love the wing on that if you can pull that off somehow. We'll have to see. As long as you don't tamper, though, everything will be okay. Can't wait. It's an exciting time of the year. Not only is this free agency, but the NBA season is a little over a month away. December 22nd is when the season's supposed to start. This is the quick turnaround we talked about. We're still in the middle of an NFL season, all right? We're gearing up for the playoffs, and the NBA season is about to kick back off again. This is wonderful. I'm being spoiled. I honestly am. After going from the everyday, this is a nice, transition back to normalcy, but I don't want it to go away. I like this. I like having it rapid fire, man. Keep it up. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshyBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com. Email address, clockersports@gmail.com. Read the stuff, Last Word on Pro Football, pippinaneasy.com, and clockersports.com. And, of course, be on the lookout for the Around the Clockers podcast. Until the very next time, man, you already know what it is. We gone.